Hello, welcome. Welcome. I'll just give it a few minutes for everyone to join. Hello. Hi, if you're just joining. Hi, welcome. Just giving it a few minutes for people to come in from the waiting room. Hi, hello, welcome. Okay, I think we can get started, and then people can join us as they arrive. Hello, I'm so pleased to welcome you to today's session. My name is Amelia. I am a 20-something white woman with long blonde hair, wearing a blue roll neck, sitting in front of a bookcase, but the bookcase is currently blurred because it is lacking. It needs to be filled more. I've moved all my books. But it's lovely to welcome you to today's Disabled Leaders Network session on getting into business. I will just do some sort of housekeeping first, if that's okay. So hopefully you're aware we've got British Sign Language interpretation on the call, provided by Steve and Katie, who should be spotlighted on your screens. We recommend joining from a computer or a laptop, a desktop, if possible, because it makes it a lot easier to access the BSL interpretation rather than a mobile or tablet. Yeah, you should be able to see them on your screens. But if you have any issues accessing that, please do let us know via the Q&A box, and we will work on that. We also have live captioning on the call, thanks to Heather, which you should be able to access via the caption function on Zoom, as well as there is the stream text link is in the chat if you prefer using it that way. Otherwise, this is a webinar style session, so if you're in the audience, we can't see or hear you, so please feel free to relax and just enjoy learning from our wonderful speakers. However, we would love to hear from you, so please do share your thoughts and any questions through the Q&A box in Zoom, and we will have a Q&A at the end of the session with our wonderful speakers. So we would love to hear your thoughts and any questions that you have, so please do share those. I think that's all the housekeeping. If you have any issues, please just message us. But yeah, I'm so pleased to welcome everyone to today's session on getting into business. So our aim for today is to really think quite broadly about that topic in terms of starting a business as a disabled entrepreneur, all the way to working in a corporate environment, and kind of what you can do within that to make things more accessible and just generally have a great career. So I'm really pleased, I'm really excited to hear from our wonderful speakers today. So if you're happy, I'd love to hand over to Martin Sibley, who'll be able to share his perspective.
Hello, thank you, Amelia. Thank you, everyone. So I'm Martin. I'm a white male with short brown hair, sat in my power wheelchair, currently in a hotel room in Canary Wharf, as I gave a talk this morning at a hotel summit and yesterday at an AI panel on around entrepreneurship as well in Northampton. So it's been a busy 24 hours, but very rich and very enjoyable. So I thought I'd kind of share a bit of my journey, kind of career wise, and through certain points of my career, I think it will pull out the points Amelia just shared there of entrepreneurship and the startup side and the business side. So I mean, disability wise, I was born with spinal muscular atrophy. It's a neuromuscular disability. I've been in a power chair since about 3 years old. So my kind of disability lived experience has been through having care support, a lot of physical care support to help with living independently, moving around in the wheelchair all my waking hours. I went to the local mainstream primary school, and then secondary school was a bit further away because of access difficulties, but it still was mainstream education. I then went off to Coventry Uni, where I did economics and a master's in marketing, hence some of that business thread already coming out in my education. And on the one side, I was probably gearing up just to kind of go on and get a financy, economic-y job just because I'd enjoyed the studying and that would be a natural progression. And I think it's fair to say I graduated in '06, and when I did look for some of those kind of jobs, I think maybe I wasn't feeling a passion, if I'm really honest, for the applying for those jobs. But there was definitely a worry my side of, could I go into the sort of typical office finance world with some of my health challenges and my energy limitations? And so I then decided actually any job would be great to get on the sort of job ladder, the career ladder. And I ended up getting a job at the disability charity called Scope. And it was in HR. The role was not a sort of longer term aim, but it was, like I said, it was a job, and it meant I could get used to going to an office, working full time. And through that, I was able to move to London, which was a kind of dream to live and work in London, having grown up in Cambridgeshire. And so at Scope, I got a real grounding in disability rights, disability inclusion, the fact that there's a lot of other people out there with a disability beyond my own lived experience that I'd had as a child. And I guess it lit a bit of a fire in the belly about doing something around kind of designing and building a world to be more inclusive for everybody. And so, whilst everything I learned at Scope was positive and helpful, I think I'd always had a desire to be my own boss. I'd always had a desire to travel as well and not only be in an office Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And I started to play around back in about 2009, this newer thing called content creation at the time. And I started my own blog and a YouTube channel. And really, before that, this is now we know about influencers and social media has become what it's become. But I was just experimenting and curious and trying out how to create content about living with a disability. So in my sort of mid late 20s, I wrote about holidays and dating, and very like the sort of not so much the right stuff, although I did get involved in certain rights campaigns as well, but it was very lifestyle topics. So from that, a friend and I started a magazine, and that's that kind of first startup venture. And the magazine actually ran for 12 years, called Disability Horizons, but we did find the business model, the funding model quite hard, but building community, storytelling, content creation was really, really great grounding. We from that spun out an accessible accommodation business, and I'm sort of going to speed up a bit through a couple of touch points. I know there's room for questions as well later, so obviously happy to answer specific questions. But we got funding like grant and then startup investment for the travel business. We grew it to the point that we couldn't keep growing it on our own, and so in the end, Airbnb acquired the business. And my co-founder Shrin spent a couple of years at Airbnb in San Francisco. But after that venture, kind of came back to the content creation. And by that point, the world had moved on a lot more, and the word influencer was becoming more used. And I think we can all agree the word influencer is a bit subjective and it means different things to different people. But in 2020, I started an influencer agency, a disability influencer agency called Purple Goat. And I partnered with a mainstream agency called The Goat Agency. But Purple Goat was literally just me 6 years ago, with this sort of backup support from the other agency. And I did all the marketing, all the selling. And then once we got enough work coming in, we started to employ one and then two and then three people. And fast forward to now, 6 years later, we're employing 20 people. We're working with all big global brands. Don't want to make it all sound like, oh, and then that was easy and that happened. It's been a lot of difficulties and challenges, a lot of hard work, but it's been very fulfilling. And we've created jobs at Purple Goat for disabled people. And obviously, a lot of the budget that brands spend in marketing and with us goes to Instagrammers and TikTokers and LinkedIners, if that's a thing. And so a lot of the budget that we've unlocked goes to disabled content creators. So there's a load within those stories about startup and growing businesses and the way I've been able to manage my own health through that. And there's been, even growing the business, there were tough times. Even though I was my own boss, there were still challenges around that. But hopefully that gives you a kind of insight into the different things I've been involved in. I suppose just right up to now, I do a lot of speaking. I advise governments and charities and businesses around change making, and sort of joining that kind of tech, AI, social media, business, and disability inclusion is very much still the passion and the purpose of all that I do.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Martin. It's like all the stuff you've done is just so cool. I guess I wondered if you maybe could just speak a little bit about if you have any advice for anyone who might be looking to set up their own business, and kind of, I know that's a huge topic, but just where you might start, especially someone who might be managing their health and all of that side of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there obviously is nuance and context, but I think the more universality of advice, I think it's got to be how I keep referring to the passion of disability inclusion. I want to also say that disabled entrepreneurs and disabled founders don't have to do a business about disability. That's just, for me, been a very big purpose and passion. But whatever the thing that you just can't stop thinking about, that's often the telltale sign. That thing that you're always talking about to your family and friends, and you wake up thinking about, you go to sleep thinking about, that's really the juice in terms of where to focus things. I think there's some self-awareness that sort of we both mentioned about any health considerations as a point to have self-awareness and self-reflection. But even separate to disability, I think there's a broader self-awareness of, do you want the business to grow to be big clients or big revenues and lots of employees, or actually is just freelance self-employment perfect, that's as big as you want it to go if it provides you with an income and you can cover the bills and you have as many holidays as you want. So I also think we get a bit stuck in, all about growth and going for sort of unicorn £1 billion or dollar companies. And actually, I think there's a real movement that people are finding, again, disabled or not, that the corporate world's not always for them. And indeed, that there's something about entrepreneurship, and being entrepreneurial within a business is also a whole other talk, maybe. But I think, the overall point is just that self-awareness of what you want from your life, what you want from your work, and then designing it around that, and not feeling that you've just got to keep growing and growing. And, that can become a bit of an exhausting treadmill unto itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Easier said than done, I imagine.
I mean, as I mentioned, like, to make it sound like, and then I did that, and then I did that. But I mean, I had burnout a couple of years into Purple Goat, where I'd just been everywhere, and then it got to the point we were employing people, so I was able to let go, but I couldn't consciously let go as much. I was still just on adrenaline and always on the go, and so my body said, actually, we need to just have a little bit of, a month or two just to get the health stuff back on track. And then I've kind of re-entered the business where lots of the people and the processes were doing brilliant, and I could then do the parts of it that I was more, valuable for and more suited for. And so, it evolves over time, and you have to take stock. But definitely the biggest lessons are the challenges and the adversity. So even there, not to feel like you've done something wrong, you just kind of dust yourself off and learn from it.
Yes, I imagine delegation is quite a important skill, but a hard skill when you're the passionate one and it's your baby.
Yeah, yeah. Every founder will say you worry if others can do it as well, and maybe they won't do it the way you do it, but it doesn't mean they won't do it great in a different way and in their own way. And yeah, there's a lot about trusting the process and letting go a bit, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I wondered if you might also be able to talk a little bit about the Lilac Review and your work with them, because I know that
Yeah.
if we have people in the audience who that might be of interest for.
Yeah, well, you can kind of see that evolution. There was me figuring stuff out for myself early on in the career, and then there was a few different businesses, and I think Purple Goat has been the one that really has popped. And then whilst I'm still mostly focused as the founder CEO, the fact that there, as I said, the delegation and the letting go and trusting with the 20 people working at Purple Goat, there's been a bit more bandwidth to do other things as well as Purple Goat. And one of them is the Lilac Review. And it was very much looking at the untapped potential of disabled founders and disability businesses. And so the Lilac Review brought together government, industry, and disabled founders, looking at the needs that disabled founders have. So, obviously there's everyone on the call, pretty obvious, but the sort of access to networking event, yeah, well, access to anywhere being important. If there's an incubator for founders, but it's not accessible, that's an issue, right? But also like accessing funding and accessing mentoring, they were the kind of things that came out of the review. And from the Lilac Review, it's rolled into the Lilac Centre. And this was all kind of spearheaded and set up by Small Business Britain, but very collaborative. Like Lloyds Bank have been very much sort of involved with supporting with funding for the Lilac Review and the Lilac Centre. And so, yeah, it's become a sort of hub for disabled founders. And then also Lloyds have themselves got a sort of disability means business campaign, and they've got their own hub of information. And at Purple Goat, we've done a couple of influencer activations, such as at NAIDEX a couple of weeks ago, that are helping to do the marketing side. And obviously, that's the big thing with Purple Goat is in the past, products and services have become better and more inclusive, not perfect, and there's still ways to go. But very often, brands never really told anyone that they've done the hard work in becoming more inclusive. So it's been quite important with the Lilac Review, Lloyds, and Purple Goat to actually get the word out. And that's why we're an influencer agency, because that's a really powerful way to get the word out. And our sort of slogan, or the sort of subline of Purple Goat is nothing about us without us. So it's very important that disability is always in the DNA of all these campaigns and all these decisions as well.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Martin. I think we've had some questions coming through from the audience, but I think if we come to those at the end, if that's okay for you, Alex, and Amanda, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much. So if Alex, if you are comfortable, I'd love to come to you now.
Yeah, certainly. So hi everyone, thank you for having me, and thank you for creating a space where disabled community to come together. I think this is brilliant. So I'm Alex Horton. I'm a white woman with long dark blonde hair. I'm wearing a white shirt and I'm sat in my home office. I work at IBM Consulting in the Microsoft practice, implementing Microsoft 365 solutions for customers. And I also lead our disability network at IBM. And today I wanted to share three things with you. So first is my personal journey of working and living with a condition called dystonia. And second is why I help create it and lead the disability community at IBM. And then third is just why I believe that AI can be a genuine step forward for disabled people in the workplace. And hopefully I'll be able to share something that you can practically take away for yourself. So as I said, I live with dystonia. That's a neurological movement disorder which causes involuntary muscle spasms. And in my case, it started later in life. And I think the timing of that really matters, because when disability arrives after you've built an identity for yourself and a plan, it can feel like something's being taken away rather than reshaped. So, before my dystonia, I was, very ambitious. I danced, I did chemistry, and I had a very clear idea of my future. And, disability wasn't a part of that. Why would I think it would be? And a moment really stayed with me when I went to the doctor. I got my diagnosis, and the doctor said to me, "Don't call yourself disabled because you don't want the label." And it just reinforced fear in me that my disability was something that I had to hide. And so then when I started my early career, I didn't disclose my dystonia. I covered, I pushed through, and I just quietly struggled with it. And eventually, sort of surprise, surprise, I was signed off on long-term sick. I spent quite a bit of time in hospital. I had to move back in with my parents, which was, not great for someone in their late 20s at that point. And I think, if you live with a disability that's, a fluctuating condition, it might sound familiar, that there is a medical reality there, but there was also kind of a grief, if you like, and a fear of this constant effort of appearing fine when your body is quite unpredictable. So when I returned to work, I knew something had to change, and it raised a bigger question with me, really. If I felt isolated with my health condition in work, then surely others must be feeling that way too. I needed a community. I wanted others to feel less alone than I had. So I created our disability community at IBM. We call it a BRG. You might have something like an ERG at your company. And the focus has really been on supporting colleagues with disabilities, health conditions, and neurodiversity. And when people ask me what the community actually does, I explain it through 4 key building blocks. So first is community. It's about creating that safe space and that sense of belonging for people within that community. The second is education. So we do a lot supporting managers and colleagues to learn about the disabled experience. Accommodation, so making tools and processes within IBM and IBM spaces accessible. And then finally, it's representation. So ensuring disabled voices influence decisions within the business. So we have a link into HR, into our D&I teams. And we lead adopting schemes that we think is important. So like the Hidden Disability Sunflower Lanyard scheme. And also we really pioneered and pushed for IBM to become disability confident. So our mission is, it's not just about awareness days. They're great for celebrating, but it's about influence to make real change within the business. So I just wanted to sort of share as well how that community really helped me personally. My condition, it doesn't disappear when I close my laptop. I live with it every day, and I've developed skills to survive with it. So planning, risk management, contingency. And one day I realized, those skills are really valuable for the workplace as well. Like it's not inspirational, it's just practical. And the turning point was not that my dystonia went away, it was that my shame did. So the community really changed how I saw my dystonia. Being around other disabled colleagues has helped me stop seeing disability only as a loss. It's just one part of who I am, and it really gave me a source of perspective. So turning that struggle kind of alone into navigating together was really a clinch for me, and really gave me confidence that I can go back to the company and say, I have something because of my disability that you don't want to lose out on. But the final thing I wanted to touch on today with you is just, the work I do with AI and with customers, because of that mind shift that I had towards my dystonia, it's now influenced my day job. So first of all, I think scale really matters here. So we have, more than 1 billion people today experience some form of disability. 62% of employees with disabilities classify their disability as invisible. So when I talk to customers, I say, if you think that you don't have disabled people in your workforce, you almost certainly do. And many of them will be navigating it quietly. We know that disability is a niche experience. We all get older. 83% of people will experience some sort of disability in their working lives. So disability is a workforce reality. But only 1 in 10 people have access to assistive technology at work. And that gap between the need and the support is exactly where leaders and my customers can make a difference. So when I talk to customers about improving productivity in their workforce using AI, the point I always make is you can't maximize productivity if your workplace only supports one type of human being. Inclusion isn't just about, value conversation, it's performance conversation as well. And when you remove barriers, by introducing an AI tool, for example, it reduces the friction and fatigue, and it unlocks capacity that was, otherwise being wasted. But there is another area as well that leaders also often forget about, and it really helps reinforce the need for disability and to be thinking about it in the forefront. If we have, to say 1 billion people have disabilities, it's in your workforce, but guess what? It's your customers as well. Accessibility isn't just an employee experience, it's a customer experience. And then it unlocks the conversation with them to talk about things like the purple pounds that you might be familiar with. So 250 billion pounds worth of spending power in the disabled community. So when we talk about AI, it should be framed as a business to employee conversation, but also a business to customer conversation. And as a disabled employee in my business, I can help them with both of those solutions because I can bring my personal perspective to that perhaps someone else in my team might not be able to. And, AI has been really helping me personally within the workplace as well. So I spend all day talking about Copilot because I'm in the Microsoft partnership, but I use it a lot, and I use a lot of the functionality just built in within M365. A lot of us don't know what's already available to us, and it's already right there. I use voice-driven solutions a lot because I can struggle with my hands a fair bit. I use transcriptions and summarizing with AI to reduce cognitive load. I ask things to Copilot as well that I might be a bit embarrassed about, that I might not want to ask someone else within my team, and that really helps create a sense of inclusion. So the opportunity isn't just features, it's about removing those small barriers that can really compound for our community across the day. So finally, I'm conscious of time. I don't want to keep, I want to give the other speakers an opportunity to speak. So just sort of rounding that off, thinking about getting into business. I'll close with 3 things. So first is create that safe environment for people. If you're coming into a business, find that community and take strength from it. It's there because they want to be there. The second is about accommodations. It's not charity, they're a performance and enablement. So do not be afraid to ask for accommodations. And the third is involve disabled people in the solutions that you're talking to, within your business. You have something that is unique that you can bring to your business. The skills that you've honed from living with your disability, the insight that it brings, and that is real value that your company can use to build into the solutions or the products that they sell out there. So do not be afraid to shy away from that. My dystonia has shaped my career. It didn't end it. Community and inclusive technology really turned what I felt was a limit into an impact. And I really think that, we are at the moment now, a point of history in time, like that AI can bridge the long-standing gaps that this community has had. And if we, use that technology in an inclusive way, we can be really powerful for this community in the workplace.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Alex. That's I love that line that you turned what you thought was a limit into an impact. That's
Yeah.
I was just wondering if you had, I guess, any advice for someone who might be at a company where they don't have like a network or an obvious community for disabled employees. If you have any advice for setting that up.
So IBM's obviously a very wide, it's a global company. And so we have an overarching diversity and inclusion sort of culture. So there was a route for me to go in to say, I've identified a gap here and I want to create this. It was, kind of a selfish need from the start, because I all of a sudden had this health condition and I thought, I don't know how to live with this. I need to ask other people how they've done it. But it was all about how to frame it to the business. It's voluntary. Let's just kind of make that clear. I do it on the side of my day job. But if you can show to your business that I think there's a gap and I think that you need this because it's going to help retain your talent, it's going to help attract talent into your business, that's only good for you. Then just having it, just start small. It doesn't have to be something really, really big. It could just be a few of you. Just think about, you could just focus on that one pillar rather than the four that I spoke about, which is the community pillar of just creating a safe space where, a few like-minded people could come together and just have a chat. Like, one thing that we do is it's virtual coffees. We just advertise throughout the business that we have them. Everyone is welcome, and it's a safe space where people can talk about their disability, or even if they don't want to talk about their disability, if they just want to talk about what they did at the weekend, it's absolutely fine. But that you're in a place with other people where if you just want to have a lethargic let go, then you can do. So if you think there is a need, start small. And if there's any pushback from your business, just show to them the value that this community brings.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Alex. We are also getting some questions in, but if it's okay, I will go to Amandip and then we will come to the questions at the end. So Amandip, over to you. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Amandeep Singh. I'm speaking from Canada. Brown guy, black hairs, wearing cream jacket. While I was listening to previous speakers, I was also going through the Q&A and chat box, and I could literally relate myself to all the questions being asked regarding how do you start business without funding, or how do you navigate AI challenges these days, how institutions can be more inclusive in their hiring practices. I just want to share a very quick story. I was born with partial vision impairment with no vision in my left eye, and I lost almost 50% of vision in my right eye by age of 10. By age of 15, doctors mentioned that for him it will be feasible to get some menial job considering his vision. But again, I had this different outlook towards life, finding answers, which led to a journey which not only changed course of my life. At a very young age, I started working in education sector with my first company for almost a decade. We designed various training programs and technology solutions, which led to almost empowering 15,000 plus people with skill building, career readiness, and employment programs. 2022, again, with I always say that I have the average skill, average background, average education, and I'll share those lessons as well. We started this company, Enable Talent, which is a talent platform created for people with special needs. And it is very much related to all the questions that were being asked. No background, no funding, no resources, no know-how. It was all question mark, question mark, question mark. Only thing I knew, okay, this is something can be done, and this is something we should do it. And I'm very happy to share, since starting that company in past 3 years, we have been able to raise funding. We have been able to expand into 6 countries. We have been able to exceed almost 25,000 plus users, being featured as top tech innovators by CEO magazine, alongside winning 6 other awards. And during this process, whenever something would happen, I would correlate some lessons that, okay, what was the lesson behind? One primary lesson I want to share with you all is uh, embrace rejections. They are the ones who will lead you to new paths. We are always afraid of rejection or challenges, considering it is something disappointing. In this journey, I enjoyed rejections like anything, and every rejection brought the next breakthrough. I was in rooms like, I always say that we as people navigating different set of visible and invisible disabilities navigate more challenges to enter into workplaces or taking part in any activities. So it's not only talent, but alongside these additional challenges, we still give our best. One thing I notice additional is consistency outlasted anything. Showing up every day at every possible opportunity gave me an edge over individuals who had far better resources, far better experiences, far better knowledge. And I made that basic fundamental of my life. Even if life is meant to be a failure, still show up every day. Give your 110%. And nature has its own way of blessing that hard work. And keep showing up until you get your breakthrough idea. So within the work we did, we were able to build a very strong community of entrepreneurs with disabilities. In Canada, I run this network called CNED, which is Canadian Network for Entrepreneurs with Disabilities, which has almost 3,000 plus members, people sharing these mutual resources in terms of funding, in terms of know-how, in terms of technical knowledge. So, anyone willing to start their own businesses, I could simply say from my own journey, just figure out what you want to do. How you would do it will evolve with passage of time. You may want to build something else. You may want to build something else in near future. 100 ideas comes, let them come. Keep showing up. I think being a person with a disability and being an entrepreneur, it is more like a blessing in disguise. You could literally choose your work style. You don't have to adhere or adjust into workplaces which might not be accommodating. And it offers a tremendous potential where uh, you're not only helping yourself by becoming self-sustainable, you're also helping the community around. You might be helping a younger version of yourself. I had a very striking moment couple of weeks back. I met a kid, almost 15-year-old, navigating similar kind of challenges that I had. And it's all like a moment I could not explain in words, like that kid navigating same challenges which I did in schooling. But somehow we were able to build something which will make life better for that kid, which will make life better for his parents, imagining my parents being in that place. So we have resources around. I know from couple of comments I could see support is fragmented, access to funding is limited. There are tons of startup programs, but they are not very accessible. In fact, we are working on building a fellowship program, and if anyone is interested, I'll be happy to share it with the Disabled Network team, which is a no-cost program, no strings attached. What we have done is we have brought in some subject matters expert, and that too people with lived experience. So if you are someone with hearing impairment, speech impairment, physical disability, or any set of challenges we are having, we are pairing them up with some similar mentor within similar industry. So you don't only have access to mentors, you have access to mentor who has been into that path. And over the time period of 10 to 12 weeks, something I have seen as a very successful model in this network is people being able to identify that, okay, this business could be suitable for me. Okay, this business could be suitable for my accommodation needs. And if I see my journey way back, I had to navigate 40, 50 different odd jobs. I had to try 15, 16 different business ideas. So now we are in a world with AI and technology being available. We don't have to repeat all those mistakes again. If anyone is interested reading all those comments, and in no matter what part of world you are from, Asia, Africa, even our company has presence in 3 different continents. And as again I said, no strings, no, nothing involved. It is just a gesture of giving back to the universe, the way universe has given us chance to be at our best possible level in our life. Happy to answer any questions, and I won't take way too much of time.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I loved your line that every rejection brought another breakthrough. That's such a powerful mindset. I think the question I wanted to ask you, and I think I'll also ask Martin this as well, is just funding advice, because that does seem to be a big question that a lot of people are, struggling to get funding. Is there do you have advice for that? Any specific disability related funding that might be available for disabled entrepreneurs or disability focused businesses, or just how to secure that, or make a business a grant? I think someone also asked how
Yeah, grant friendly.
yeah.
One thing I have seen is having worked in almost 3 different continents myself, including Asia, EU, UK, and this North American market. There's a lot of support available. I won't deny that fact. But access to that support and availability of that information in accessible and public format is a question mark. Even we as a team have been trying to unify all that information or access available. So to answer your question, that funding and resources and grants are available, but how do you identify those funding? How do you make sure you are eligible for those funding options? That is something which needs a lot of work. And even if I have to navigate all that stuff on my own, it is not possible. And for that only we are putting up this network or this fellowship program. So for anyone willing to get started, and even in journal, if anyone just wants to brainstorm, we have those resources available. We have a very good team into research, so we are happy even if you are somewhere from Pakistan or somewhere in other part of Europe, we are happy to work alongside you to identify some of those opportunities and work along on that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Martin, did you want to come in there with any thoughts? Oh, I think you're on mute. Let me. Is that? Sorry.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Aga. Yeah, I can't reach my screen, so I just had to call someone to unmute me. Yeah, no, all good, yeah, all good. I think I had to do it my side. Yeah, no, I think like on the one side, yes, of course there are stages, funding matters, and absolutely agree with the advice that was just given. I kind of want to take a slightly different approach as well, that I think we all can want the perfect plan ahead and the perfect conditions until we start moving. And so I just want to offer the balanced side of like, there are lots of things we can do without funding. And on all the businesses I've been involved in, when we really, really needed funding to employ more people or to build out the tech at the travel company, for example, the money tended to come along at the time we needed it. And so, yeah, there are, you know, social entrepreneur grants and there are government grants. And yeah, there are lots of places to be aware of. And the more you dig, the more you'll find them. And of course, we can get sucked into the media narrative. The world's a bit upside down and it's all a bit bleak and a bit difficult. And there's truth to that. I'm not naive and ignoring that. But I just want to offer that more nuanced perspective that I have found again and again when the money and the funding has been needed, the right person or the right organization came along. But you need momentum for that to be the case. So I guess what I'm saying is don't not act because you're waiting for the funding. There's still lots you can be doing in the interim as well.
Brilliant, thank you. Another question that came for you, Martin, was about advice for getting into content creation as disabled people.
Yeah, I mean, again, because we all understand the checklist. Like people might ask what camera, what microphone, what bracket. You know, most of that we have on our smartphones is all perfectly good. Certainly when you're getting started. Some people really enjoy being on camera. Some people don't, and they feel like they have to be on camera because that's what everyone is doing. But content can be articles or content can be audio. So back to that self-awareness, you know, lean into what you really enjoy, what you know you have a bit of a flair or a skill or a talent more naturally, and lean into that. Again, talk about the things you enjoy. Don't feel like you should suddenly become an expert in something you're not, and don't feel like you have to talk about something because of this external stereotype about content creators. So I think again it's dispelling the noise and the myths we all have, and we're bombarded. It's no one's fault. We're bombarded by these messages, but it is to just take stock that if you want to get into content creation, do it on your terms and your terms only. And once you're in that rhythm and you're enjoying it, and I'd even say don't have the pressure to be an expert, just document your journey, whatever it is. You're building a company or you're standing for a cause, whatever it is, more like document your view and the things you're up to. That's a great way of doing content creation rather than this big Hollywood polished thing that takes 6 months to get there, and then you put it out and you feel like, oh, no one really saw that. So there's a drumbeat and a consistency, but yeah, definitely doing it on your terms as well. And again, the more I did that, the more I got invited on other podcasts and to speak at conferences, and then that's how your reach grows as well.
Really interesting, thank you. We had a session on using LinkedIn as a platform a couple of weeks ago, and a lot of us in the network shared our kind of our fear fascination with the social media and how it can be challenging to sort of be seen, as it were.
Yeah. And even like we talk a lot about the algorithm, and we sometimes feel like the algorithm it's out to get us, and it's, you know, I'm doing my content and the algorithm's not, it's almost against me or something like that. But actually in the longer run, I think if you're consistent in the kind of thing you want to talk about, then in the end, in the long run, the algorithm will serve your content to the people that are interested in that topic. But that takes weeks and months for the algorithm to get it, which comes back to the consistency stuff as well.
Makes sense. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Alex, I think a question that a lot of people were asking is kind of how you can hold your employer to account, both in terms of how they are treating their employees, but also, I guess, from a customer experience point of view as well.
Yeah. So holding into account as a disabled employee, kind of doing what they need to do for me, I suppose, is well, it's knowing your rights as well. Know your value and be confident in your value. And then if they are a company that is accredited, such like disability confident, that find that out and know that, you know, they have chosen that to go and get that accreditation, and they, you know, respect the value and they see the potential within the disabled community. So if you are feeling like you are, you know, struggling within your organization and they have that accreditation, then call it out, and you can bring that to HR and ask for it. Accommodations are a right. Either they have a pool of money. Not sure what it's like across all organizations, but at IBM we have, you know, a dedicated amount that's there for those kind of requirements. And as I said before, it's not something to ever be ashamed of asking for. We should just go and do it. It is there to be used and it is ring fenced for that. So make sure that you are tapping into that if you need be. For customers, yeah, I mean, I still think it's very, you know, there's still a lot of work to be done within this space for organizations realizing that their services, you know, are not accessible to their disabled customers. And I think it's about educating those organizations and realizing the potential that they are missing out on. You know, I take it back to the Purple Pound, and it's about shouting about that. You know, if you're not getting something from a brand that you expect, make some noise about it. A lot of the time it is about a feedback loop, and we cannot increasingly you know, innovate or make the world more inclusive and more accessible if, you know, unfortunately we don't have voices that are talking about it and bringing it to attention.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you mentioned the disability confidence scheme, and we had some people asking kind of what that entails and what you might have done at IBM to secure that accreditation.
Yeah, so it's a UK wide scheme. It's free, so it's not like any, you know, we're asking the company to pay for anything for it. There are 3 levels in it, level 1 to level 3, and you kind of go through those levels as a journey. And there is a set curriculum, if you like, and some requirements that you prove to the accrediting body that you have matched. It could be attracting talent, retaining talent, you know, what have you got in place that supports them? And it's really great because it's when we went through it, it was a way of us learning about ourselves as well. You know, we might not have had certain things in place that we could have done, so it sort of forced us to go and, you know, analyze ourselves and put that lens on ourselves. So if you search for disability confident on the, you know, the government website, it will come up, and the steps are on there how to go and apply for it. But it's definitely something I would say to look at going and doing. One, if your company doesn't have that accreditation, go and do it, because you will do that sort of retrospective on yourself. And 2, if you're looking to get into a career, you know, one of the reasons that we went to go and do it was because a lot of people within the community, the first thing they will go and do when they look for a new employer is pull up that list. You know, it's freely available on the website of these are all the disability confident organizations. So guess what? That's where all your talent are going to go and apply for jobs. So the business case is there for your organization to go and do it and to progress through it, because it is been valuable to us as a community to attract and retain talent in.
Fantastic, thank you. Yes, if anyone wants any more information on the scheme, we did have a session, I think it was this time last year, I think it was called Access to Work or something like that, where we had someone come in and speak about the scheme and sort of how companies can go about going through the process. So if you're interested in that, please do check out the recording should be on our YouTube channel from around this time last year. Amandip, I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned the importance of mentoring I guess just wondered if you could kind of elaborate on that, either your own experiences of that or just kind of what you would you know, the importance of it and how you would recommend maybe people secure a mentor, just anything you wanted to sort of share on that topic.
Yeah, one thing I have seen in my career, having access to good advisors and mentors have been very instrumental. And on top of that, someone with a lived experience added another great layer of support, which helped me to navigate certain challenges which I could not have done on my own. So even with our work, we are trying to design it in a way so even in your peer circles, I would always recommend have someone to talk to. At times, you may just have a blind spot, and your mentor could be okay. Just look into that direction. You're already doing good work. Just pivot a bit. So maybe having access to your personal advisory board or mentors is always critical in navigating any opportunities. It could be leading to some improvisations in your career path, job search, or I was reading some more comments that job market is very crowded these days. How do you navigate that, or how do you stood out of those thousands of applications? So those are the areas where mentors could help you stand out. And happy to share more. I think one or two folks have reached out on LinkedIn. Happy to chat further if anyone is willing.
Brilliant. Thank you. Martin, did you just want to come in on that potentially? I know you mentioned mentoring, but don't worry if not.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes, yeah.
Cool. I can see a poll. The poll's come up on my screen now. Yeah, I think it's just a very important thing. I love what Amandeep said about the person he met that was 15 years old and had that sort of similarity. And yeah, that just resonates. I benefited from mentors in the past, and I love mentoring the next generation. And there's just a lot of power in that, really.
Brilliant. Thank you. I'm just thinking if we got, I don't think we really have time for any more questions. But we have had lots of people sharing their thoughts and questions in the chat. So yeah, thank you so much for everyone for engaging. I'm sorry we've run out of time. Hopefully we managed to cover most areas. But we, you know, please do email us at Disabled Leaders Network and we can try and make sure we can, you know, make things happen, facilitate, give answers where we can. But yes, thank you so much to Martin, Alex, and Amandeep. We've really enjoyed hearing from all three of you. I think it's so great to have a real conversation about the sort of inspirational side of setting up a business or working in a fast-paced environment, but also the real side of it and how you can sort of balance things. So thank you so much. If you enjoyed this session, please do come along to our next one, which will be in June. We think it will be on public appointments and public bodies, so please do come along to that, and please do follow us on socials or sign up to our newsletter so that you are fully aware of when we have our next activities. If you are a member of the Disabled Leaders Network, we will be meeting now on a separate link to have a conversation, so please do join us there. Otherwise, thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.